In the intricate weave of city existence, where shadows clash with the glow of streetlights and rain murmurs hidden truths to the ground, one act of bias can tear apart the fragile fabric of justice and destiny. In a world where melodies clash with the harsh realities of life, we meet Emily Carter, a prodigious pianist whose talent shines like a beacon, and Lisa Harper, a policewoman forged in the fires of relentless duty, her spirit tempered by the weight of her experiences. On a rain-soaked street, their lives intersect, igniting a chain of events that will push the boundaries of forgiveness, confront the essence of justice, and unveil the profound impact of empathy. This narrative unfolds as a seemingly minor act of cruelty unravels a tangled web of profound issues, revealing the stark realities of racial bias, the heavy weight of responsibility, and the fierce bravery needed to face one's own biases. The city lingered in a tense stillness beneath the encroaching twilight as Emily Carter, her heart ablaze with melodies, emerged from the Madison Concert Hall. Her debut solo performance erupted with intensity, each note cutting through the air, a powerful reflection of years steeped in dedication and fervor. The applause reverberated in her ears, a powerful crescendo of recognition that transformed her dreams into reality. She donned a stark white dress, its fabric brushing against her skin with every step, each movement a poignant expression of joy. In her hand, she gripped the concert program, a powerful symbol of her hard-fought triumph. Emily drew in a sharp breath, the crisp night air rushing into her lungs, igniting a storm of emotions within her. Amidst the biting cold, an inner fire ignited, driven by the fierce pride in her performance and the steadfast support of her father, Nathan Carter. Nathan, a figure of unwavering resolve and deep affection, had consistently been her beacon in the darkness. Before she departed that morning, he had painstakingly woven her hair into a complex design, a ritual he honored for every significant moment. "This hair is your crown, Emily," he declared, his eyes ablaze with fervor. "This evening you will shine like no other." The braids transcended mere aesthetics. They embodied his love, a visceral testament to the profound connection they forged together. Emily stared intently at her reflection in the mirror, a fierce determination igniting within her, as if she were a warrior poised to seize her destiny. Yet the world, as she was about to learn, concealed shadows capable of overshadowing even the most radiant stars. As Emily strode down the shadowy street, a patrol car burst forth from the gloom, its arrival slicing through the stillness of the night. Behind the wheel sat Lisa Harper, a policewoman marked by the relentless passage of time, her face carved with the deep lines of countless shifts and the weight of her experiences. Lisa had just endured a day that tested her limits, and her patience was on the brink of collapse. As she peered through the windshield, her gaze landed on Emily, a young black girl in a white dress, her intricately braided hair framing a moment that felt charged with significance. A spark of doubt flared inside her. A girl like that, roaming the shadows at this hour? That hairstyle? It screamed danger, she whispered to herself, a chill running down her spine. Lisa eased the car to a halt, her thoughts battling fiercely with the choice to step in. In a moment heavy with tension, weighed down by exhaustion and deep-seated biases, she made the decisive choice to pull over. The patrol car's headlights sliced through the night, illuminating Emily with a harsh, unyielding light as she froze, caught off guard by the abrupt disruption. Lisa rolled down her window, her voice slicing through the night with piercing clarity. "Halt! What brings you to this place at such a late hour?" Emily gripped the concert program with fierce intensity, using it as a barrier against the biting edge of the policewoman's voice. "I just concluded a piano performance at the Madison Concert Hall," she replied, her voice a mix of vulnerability and tension. "I reside merely a stone's throw away." Lisa dismissed the explanation, her doubts ignited by deep-seated beliefs. She flung the car door open and emerged, her stance exuding an undeniable power. The relentless thud of her boots on the drenched pavement shattered the stillness of the night. "Show me your ID," Lisa ordered, her piercing stare raking over Emily, dissecting her every detail. Emily recoiled, a surge of discomfort intensifying with every fleeting second. "May I inquire why, ma'am?" she asked, her voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of tension. "I'm simply making my way home, yet I find myself burdened by the weight of unjust suspicion." Lisa's gaze sharpened, a storm brewing within her as she confronted Emily's unsettling calmness. The stillness intensified her unease. "Don't toy with my emotions," Lisa declared, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "That hairstyle. You can't convince me it's not tied to something deeper. Do you really think I'm oblivious?" Emily stood resolute, battling the surge of emotions that threatened to engulf her. The intricate braid her father had meticulously crafted that morning was now cast in a harsh light, reduced to a mere emblem of wrongdoing. "This is the hairstyle my father did for me this morning," she replied, her voice unwavering, yet laced with a subtle quiver. "This is completely unrelated to gangs." Lisa stood resolute, her doubts casting a shadow over the moment. With a sudden movement, she lunged forward and seized Emily's bag. "You're hindering the truth," Lisa snapped, brandishing a pair of handcuffs with fierce determination. "Should you choose not to cooperate, I will be forced to escort you to the station." Emily felt a lump rise in her throat, yet she stood firm against the tide of tears threatening to spill over. She remained frozen, gripping the concert program tightly, as though it were the final remnant of her pride. The rain intensified, distorting the vision of Emily in her white dress and elaborate braids, as if the world around her was shifting in a moment of poignant transformation. She stood there, confronting a figure of justice who was shattering her flawless evening into a haunting recollection of disgrace. In the distance, the streetlights flickered defiantly, yet within Emily, shadows were tightening their grip, heralding an impending shift. This is just the beginning. With a fierce grip, Lisa seized Emily's arm, pulling her toward the waiting patrol car, the tension crackling in the air. The cold handcuffs echoed with a piercing sound in the heavy, damp air. Emily bit her lip, her steps laden with an unspoken weight as she followed. Her dream-filled night fractured into a haunting disarray. "You don't understand. I didn't do anything wrong," Emily declared, her voice quaking with intensity yet resolute. Lisa pivoted sharply, her icy gaze piercing through the girl. "Silence would serve you well," she shot back, her lips forming a tight line, resolute in her refusal to entertain any excuses. The distant blare of car horns pierced the silence, while the feeble glow from nearby houses cast an eerie shadow over the stark landscape. Emily's white dress, drenched and heavy, clung to her slender legs, embodying the remnants of a dream irrevocably broken. Unbeknownst to either of them, a man in a black suit loomed in the distance, his face defined and his eyes cutting through the shadows. With a fierce grip on the umbrella, he felt the weight of the moment, while the phone in his pocket captured every heartbeat of the unfolding scene. The tempest raged not only in the downpour, but in the impending upheaval that threatened to engulf them all. The rain lashed down, drenching Emily's once pristine white dress and the delicate braids her father had painstakingly crafted just hours before. She sat curled on a bench in the stark holding area of the police station, her gaze locked onto the damp, crumpled concert program that lay abandoned on the floor. The once proud lettering had run in the relentless rain, a harsh testament to the night's unforgiving injustice. The sharp pang of humiliation and the weight of injustice constricted her throat, yet she stood resolute, refusing to shed a tear. She refused to grant them the satisfaction they craved. Lisa Harper, the policewoman with piercing eyes and an unyielding presence, stood behind her desk, meticulously completing paperwork beneath the unforgiving glare of fluorescent lights. Her expression was of fortress, unyielding and resolute, as if her stern demeanor could withstand any storm. "This girl isn't cooperating," Lisa said, her voice cutting through the air, her gaze fixed elsewhere, filled with unspoken tension. "That hairstyle screams gang affiliation." Mike, a younger officer standing nearby, cast a piercing glance at Emily. His brow knitted tightly, a storm of uncertainty brewing within him, before he finally found the courage to speak, his voice barely a whisper. "Lisa, she's merely a student. She doesn't appear to be." "Protocol is protocol," Lisa interjected sharply, her voice slicing through the air and halting him mid-sentence. "If we ignore these details, we can only imagine the depths of her involvement." Lisa turned to Emily, her icy stare cutting through the tension. "I demanded you surrender your bag, yet you stood your ground. This is precisely why I had to take you into custody. Your unwillingness to comply only deepens my doubts." Emily locked eyes with Lisa, a fierce determination radiating from her unwavering gaze. With a heavy heart, she exhaled and replied, "I stand here, innocent, clutching my sheet music and the program from my performance. If they get wet, they will be destroyed, and with them, a piece of my soul will be lost." Lisa stood resolute, unyielding in her stance. With a sudden motion, she lunged forward and wrenched Emily's bag from her grasp. Emily's instinctive resistance only fueled Lisa's resolve, igniting a fierce determination within her. "Obstructing an officer?" Lisa exclaimed, the cold metal of the handcuffs biting into Emily's wrists as the weight of the moment shifted dramatically. The piercing sound of the handcuffs snapped through the silence of the night, shattering the calm with a jarring finality. Emily stood frozen, her figure engulfed by the relentless downpour. Within her, a profound and searing sense of humiliation surged, cutting through her like a knife. Yet she lifted her chin defiantly. She refused to allow Lisa to witness her breakdown. Inside the station, Emily perched on a frigid metal chair in the holding room, the weight of her surroundings pressing down on her. Her dress clung to her, drenched and heavy, her hair a wild tangle, and her hands bound tightly before her. The room blazed with unforgiving fluorescent lights, their stark glare intensifying the already stifling atmosphere. Lisa stood outside, her hand moving over the detention paperwork with a chilling detachment, each stroke a reminder of the weight of her choices. Meanwhile, Mike stood by the door, his gaze piercing through the wire mesh window, fixated on Emily. His expression cut through the silence, revealing the turmoil within, even as his lips remained sealed. Lisa yanked another form from the pile, her voice slicing through the tension in the room. "Get the barber down here right now. This hair situation cannot wait any longer." Mike's eyes flared with intensity as he took a bold step forward. "Lisa, are you really going to go through with this? That girl isn't a criminal. This hairstyle might suggest gang ties." Lisa cut him off once more. "We must eradicate any possible threats that could jeopardize our mission." Moments later, George burst into the room, a middle-aged barber with salt and pepper hair, his gentle demeanor stark against the tension that filled the air, tools in hand, ready to confront the inevitable change ahead. His kind eyes pierced through the tension as they fixed on Emily, and a storm of emotions surged within him. The young girl, with her fragile beauty and piercing stare, felt strikingly incongruous in that environment. She stood apart from anyone he had ever encountered in this role, a stark contrast that demanded attention. "This young girl?" George inquired, his voice laced with uncertainty and deep empathy. "Yes," Lisa responded with an icy calmness that cut through the air. "Sever every tie. It's the rule." George paused, his gaze piercing as it shifted to Emily. She sat frozen, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. When her eyes locked onto his, they radiated strength and defiance. They stood unwavering, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within. George stepped forward, his hand landing with a weighty tenderness on Emily's shoulder. His voice pierced the silence, a whisper that carried weight and urgency. "I deeply regret this, my dear. This isn't what I desire, but the weight of obligation leaves me no alternative. I must obey." Emily lifted her chin, her voice steady yet resolute. "I get it. Do what you need to do. I'll manage." George commenced his task, every cut of the scissors resonating with a piercing clarity in the stillness of the room. The delicate braids her father had painstakingly woven that morning tumbled to the ground, each strand severing Emily's sense of self with a piercing finality. George hesitated, his hands shaking with remorse, while Lisa loomed behind him, her icy stare compelling him to press on. Emily's gaze pierced the small mirror on the wall, a reflection of her inner turmoil. She observed each strand descend, each fragment of her identity severed, yet tears did not escape her eyes. Instead, she steadied her gaze, her eyes piercing through the mirror to meet Lisa's, filled with a fierce, unyielding spirit. Lisa felt the weight of the gaze, and in that fleeting instant, a profound unease gripped her heart. This was not the visage of someone who had succumbed. It was the gaze of a soul forever marked by memory. As the final braid tumbled to the floor, an eerie stillness enveloped the room, heavy with unspoken tension. Emily knelt, her heart racing as she gathered the fallen braids, cradling them in her lap with a fierce tenderness, as if they were precious relics of a moment now lost. George recoiled, his eyes shimmering with the weight of unspoken sorrow. Lisa turned and walked away, battling the tightening knot of unease that twisted painfully in her chest. Yet, the haunting vision of Emily's unwavering spirit clung to her, refusing to fade away. Unbeknownst to her, her choices had ignited a chain reaction, unleashing forces that spiraled far beyond her grasp. Outside the holding room, Mike leaned against the desk, his gaze fixed on Lisa, a storm of unspoken emotions swirling within him. His silence was deafening, a powerful statement that resonated deeply. Inside, Emily sat on the unforgiving metal chair, her cropped hair a chaotic mess, yet her gaze pierced through the silence, unwavering and resolute. She felt it in her bones. This was just the beginning of something tumultuous. The room was suffocated by an unsettling silence. Emily gripped the frayed ends of her braids with fierce intensity, desperately clinging to the shreds of her dignity. Every time her gaze landed on the strands in her lap, it was as if a part of her soul had been violently ripped away, leaving a raw, aching void in its wake. Outside, Lisa stood by her desk, lost in thought, her gaze piercing through the void. Her face remained a mask of calm, yet within her mind a storm raged fiercely. The image of Emily, both humiliated and defiant, clung to her thoughts like a haunting specter, stirring a tempest of emotions within her. Lisa stood on the precipice of an unknown future, unaware that this fleeting moment would shatter her world, forever altering the course of her life. The front doors of the police station burst open with a thunderous bang, fracturing the stillness that enveloped the scene. Captain Thomas Monroe stormed in, his commanding presence slicing through the air, each step resonating sharply against the tiled floor. His piercing gaze swept across the room, amplifying the already overwhelming tension. Officers swiftly averted their gazes, feigning busyness to escape the weight of his scrutiny. Monroe came to a sudden halt before Lisa Harper's desk. "Harper," he called, his deep voice slicing through the silence with an intensity that demanded attention. "Who have you brought into this?" Lisa, unaware of the weight in his voice, held onto her calm facade. "A girl," she declared, her voice cutting through the air with an unexpected weight. "She seemed off. I saw her wandering through this neighborhood after dark, and that hairstyle of hers." Lisa shrugged, trying to hide her doubt. "I suspected it could be tied to gang activity." Monroe's eyes narrowed, his brows twisting into a dramatic frown, a storm of emotion brewing within him. "What is her name?" he demanded, his voice cutting through the air, laced with an unsettling urgency. Lisa rifled through the file on her desk, her eyes darting over the pages with urgency. "Emily Carter," she declared, her voice cutting through the silence. "A student, yet adherence to protocol remains unwavering." The instant the name Emily Carter escaped her lips, Monroe's demeanor shifted dramatically. He leaned over her desk, his hands pressing down with intensity, his gaze sharp and seething with emotion. "What did you just say?" he demanded, his voice plunging into a menacing whisper. "Emily Carter," Lisa echoed, her voice trembling as the gravity of the moment crashed down upon her. Monroe exhaled, his frustration morphing into a profound sense of disillusionment. With a swift motion, He retrieved his phone, navigating through his contacts with an intensity that mirrored the urgency in his heart before pressing it to his ear. "Nathan, you must arrive immediately," he commanded sharply before ending the call. As Monroe faced Lisa, his voice cut through the air with a chilling intensity. "Do you even grasp the magnitude of your actions, Harper? Emily Carter is not merely another girl. She is the daughter of Nathan Carter, a federal agent entrenched in one of the most perilous undercover operations of his life." Lisa stood still, her eyes filled with disbelief. "The daughter of a federal agent?" she gasped, her voice trembling with disbelief. "That's right," Monroe snapped. "For 3 long years, Nathan has been weaving his way into the depths of Richard Grayson's network, a criminal organization that thrives on danger. Every bit of progress he's achieved, every life teetering on the edge, stands to be shattered by your thoughtless choices." Lisa's mind whirled in turmoil as she struggled to articulate her thoughts. "I was merely adhering to the rules, the hairstyle." "Did you truly believe you had the authority to sever an innocent girl's hair, driven by your misguided assumptions?" Monroe thundered, his hands crashing down on the desk. Nearby officers recoiled at the piercing sound. "You've just given Grayson a compelling reason to doubt Nathan's loyalty." Monroe collapsed into the chair, his face a canvas of turmoil. He yanked a collection of photos from a file and hurled them onto the desk before Lisa. "Listen," he commanded with a fierce intensity. "This is Grayson's operation. He's not merely peddling drugs. He's entangled in human trafficking, arms smuggling, and money laundering. Men like him wield an army of lawyers, corrupt law enforcement, and even politicians at their beck and call." Lisa grasped one of the photos, her hands quaking with intensity. Grayson stood beside Victor Steele, his right-hand man, whose piercing gaze cut through the air, sending a shiver down her spine. Monroe pressed on, her voice laced with tension. "Grayson is already harboring doubts about Nathan because of this. Should he discover that Emily is Nathan's daughter, it would not only jeopardize Nathan's life, but threaten the very existence of his entire family." Lisa's heartbeat roared in her chest. She fought to hold herself together, yet faltered. I had no idea. I never intended for this to happen." "You didn't mean to?" Monroe's voice cut through the air, laced with biting sarcasm. "Do you really believe that justifies the fallout? If Grayson makes his move, we will forfeit our sole opportunity to take him down." Moments later, the frantic rhythm of footsteps reverberated through the corridor. Nathan Carter stepped inside, his dark suit immaculate, yet his gaze was piercing and frigid. He marched purposefully toward the holding area. As the door swung open, he was struck by the sight of Emily perched on a cold metal chair, her eyes heavy with fatigue, yet burning with an unwavering determination. "Emily," Nathan said, his voice heavy with concern, a storm brewing beneath the surface. Emily glanced upward, a flicker of recognition igniting in her eyes as she beheld her father. "I'm okay, Dad," she breathed, her voice trembling with unspoken weight. "I am unyielding." Nathan drew closer, lowering himself to meet her gaze. He brushed his fingers over the jagged remnants of her braids, his face clouding with a simmering rage that threatened to erupt. "I will set this straight," Nathan declared with conviction. As Nathan exited the room, he strode directly toward Lisa, his eyes fixed on her with an intensity that was both fierce and unwavering. He scrutinized her intently, as if unraveling the depths of her innermost thoughts. "Lisa Harper," he uttered, his voice a chilling whisper that cut through the air. "Are you fully aware of the impact your choices will have?" Lisa's lips parted, ready to speak, but the piercing intensity of Nathan's gaze rendered her mute. "I've dedicated 3 years to forging trust with Grayson and his men," Nathan pressed on, his words sharp and impactful. "Your thoughtless, biased choice has sown seeds of doubt in his mind about me. If I perish, if my daughter suffers once more, the blame rests with you." Lisa's legs trembled, threatening to give way beneath her. "I will fight tooth and nail to make this right," she declared, her voice trembling with intensity. Nathan arched an eyebrow, his stare piercing and cold. repair it. You stand at the precipice of redemption, Nathan pressed on, his voice now laced with an icy edge. Yet the path ahead is fraught with challenges. As she stepped inside, every gaze fixated on her, scrutinizing every inch of her being. With a steely resolve, she approached the bar, her heart racing as she ordered a whiskey, each step a declaration of her inner turmoil. She understood the urgency of capturing Victor Steele's attention, yet the weight of desperation loomed over her, a shadow she could not allow to surface. "Isn't it striking how little a cop earns?" Lisa's voice pierced the air, reaching Victor with an undeniable intensity. "An abundance of restrictions, yet the rewards remain scarce. I believe the moment has come to seize the opportunity for substantial earnings." Across the room, Victor's intense stare pierced through the air, fixating on Lisa with an undeniable force. His gaze pierced through her, each word and movement laid bare under the weight of his examination. "Who are you?" Victor inquired, his tone dark and foreboding. Lisa pivoted to confront him, her face a mask of calmness, concealing the storm within. "Harper," she snapped back, her voice laced with tension. "A cop, weary of the system." Before her, a stark, empty sheet of paper loomed on the music stand, devoid of any notes, a silent testament to what could be. Emily exhaled sharply, her eyes shutting tight as the tumultuous echoes within her mind surged forth. Her fingers stirred, hesitant at the outset, unleashing a cascade of poignant, resonant notes. A melody emerged, a wordless composition beginning with haunting, deep tones that conveyed profound loss and deep humiliation. As the music transformed, piercing, elevated notes surged forth, capturing the essence of hope, resilience, and unwavering determination. Nathan Carter lingered in the shadows of the room, his gaze fixed on his daughter. A tumultuous blend of pride and heartache swirling within him. Emily transcended the role of mere daughter. She stood as a powerful symbol of resilience. With each note, she transformed her pain into a powerful narrative, a cathartic journey of self-discovery and revelation. As the last note dissolved into silence, Emily lifted her gaze, her eyes glistening with a bittersweet sorrow yet illuminated by a striking clarity that had emerged within her. She turned to her father, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips as the weight of unspoken words hung in the air. "They may strip away my hair, Dad," she declared, her voice unwavering, "but they will never seize my strength." Nathan approached, his hand landing heavily on her shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Emily," he declared, his voice heavy with emotion. "Your strength is a lesson in resilience. It shows me that only you hold the power to be broken." Emily nodded, her gaze piercing through the emptiness of the blank sheet on the music stand. She vowed to capture the piece she had just played, each note a powerful reflection of her tumultuous journey through anguish and healing. A few blocks away, Lisa Harper sat in her car, cloaked in the shadows beneath the flickering streetlight, a sense of unease gripping her heart. The dim yellow light cast a stark glow on her face, revealing the deep lines of tension and regret that marked her features. Lisa was tormented by the haunting image of Emily's defiant gaze in the holding cell, a stark reminder of the turmoil that had unfolded. The relentless burden of guilt intensified with every fleeting moment, suffocating her spirit. Lisa was ensnared by the undeniable truth. Her actions were not merely misguided in their execution, but fundamentally flawed in her perception of reality. Years as a cop had warped her view, ensnaring her in a web of bias and dread. She recalled her early days on the force, a time when she was a young, passionate recruit, burning with the desire to create change. Gradually, the words of the seasoned officers twisted her perception, reshaping her very thoughts. "Children like that carry shadows," one of them had said. "If they haven't crossed the line yet, it's only a matter of time before they do." The toxic lessons had burrowed deep within her, transforming her perception of Emily from that of a girl into a looming threat. Now, stationed near the Carter home, Lisa's regret surged within her, a weight too heavy to bear. She emerged from the car, her legs quaking with uncertainty as she drew closer to the house. Lisa stood in the shadows, watching as Emily played. The music carried sorrow, defiance, and something else, a strength Lisa had failed to see before. The image of Emily's shorn hair burned in her mind. This girl wasn't just a victim, she was a force. Back on her mission, Lisa now faced her work with a fervor that shattered the cold detachment of a cop merely following orders. With a fierce determination igniting within her, she embraced a new mission: to dismantle Grayson's network. This was no longer merely about the case. It was a battle fought for Emily, for herself, and for the profound transformation that awaited her. Every encounter with Victor Steele drew her further into the tumultuous world of Grayson's operations. The threat loomed large, yet Lisa stood firm, unwavering in her determination. Each night she poured her soul into the pages of her notebook, capturing every detail with precision. This ritual transformed into a vital lifeline, mirroring her deepening commitment to herself and the world around her. In the shadows of her dimly lit apartment, Lisa penned a final poignant line before shutting her notebook with a heavy heart. Emily's resilience cuts through the darkness, illuminating my path. If she can emerge from the depths of humiliation, then I too can ascend from the shadows of my mistakes. Lisa made a bold choice to create a significant impact for Emily. With determination, she contacted Nathan, orchestrating a visit for Emily to the local music center, a place where melodies once flowed from her fingertips. In that moment, Lisa clandestinely placed a sheet of music she had crafted, ignited by the haunting melody that drifted through the Carter window. As Emily stumbled upon the sheet music resting on the piano, a surge of curiosity ignited within her, compelling her to delve deeper into its mysteries. As she started to play, a powerful realization surged within her. The music reflected her tumultuous emotions, a fierce blend of pain, defiance, and the fragile threads of forgiveness. Every note resonated within her, as though it were a direct expression of her very essence. Emily stood in stunned silence, her heart racing as a wave of unexpected warmth washed over her, igniting a flicker of hope within her. A soft smile, almost fragile, broke through the tension, hinting at a profound shift in her world. For her, the music spoke a powerful truth of transformation. As Emily slowly reclaimed her strength, Lisa experienced a profound release, as if a weight she had long carried was finally gone. She understood that the journey to redemption would be fraught with challenges. Yet she had embarked on this path, not solely for Emily, but for her own sake. Lisa had transformed her approach to her duties, no longer viewing them as mere boxes to be checked off. With fierce resolve, she poured herself into her work, driven by the need to demonstrate her transformation. She fought fiercely to restore the trust she had shattered with Nathan, with Emily, and with the community she had once vowed to uplift. The night enveloped Grayson's warehouse in an oppressive shroud, where the dim flicker of industrial lights struggled against the heavy, foreboding atmosphere of peril. This was the core of a vast criminal empire, a nerve center for drug trafficking, arms deals, and a myriad of other nefarious undertakings. This evening marks the climax of the struggle, a fierce showdown laden with unforeseen dangers and heart-wrenching sacrifices. In the FBI's briefing room, Nathan Carter and his team of agents stood on the precipice of a pivotal moment, readying themselves for the impending raid. A sprawling map of the warehouse lay before them, tension crackling in the air as each team member leaned in, their hearts racing with anticipation as roles were declared. Lisa Harper stood in a corner, her face taut, yet her eyes ignited with fierce resolve. She understood that her role in this mission was vital, not merely to amend her errors, but to safeguard those she had wounded. Nathan's finger hovered over the vivid red circle mark in the warehouse, a stark reminder of the shift that had taken place. His voice cut through the air, commanding attention with an intensity that left no room for doubt. With Harper's intel, we have confirmation that Grayson will arrive tonight. He's convening a pivotal meeting with his partners, a decisive step to broaden his network. This is our singular opportunity to seize him and dismantle his entire operation. Lisa took a step forward. I'll go first, draw Victor's attention and locate Grayson. Nathan studied her. Are you sure? Lisa nodded with conviction. I've reached this point. I refuse to halt my momentum. With a deep breath, Nathan confronted the team. We will divide ourselves into 3 distinct groups. Harper will give the signal when the moment to act arrives. Brace yourself for the unexpected. This is more than an arrest. It's a clash of wills. Clad in simple yet resilient attire, Lisa stepped into the warehouse, her deep-rooted connection to the space fueling her assured strides. The atmosphere crackled with intensity as the members of the organization moved with urgency, inspecting goods and sharing hushed, urgent exchanges. Victor Steele stood in the center, radiating a commanding presence, akin to a general poised for a decisive confrontation. His piercing gaze swept across the room, taking in every nuance. As he caught sight of Lisa, a fleeting smirk flickered across his lips, yet his eyes held a chilling, wary intensity. "Harper," he called out, his voice cutting through the silence with an intensity that demanded attention. "You arrived at the perfect moment. We must conduct a decisive final check before this shipment departs." Lisa steadied herself, her heart racing as she stepped forward and acknowledged him with a slight nod. She understood that even the slightest pause could betray her. With a calculated guise of scrutiny, her hand stealthily dove into her pocket, igniting the signal device for Nathan and the FBI team, a moment poised on the edge of transformation. Outside, Nathan and his team caught the piercing signal from Lisa. With a voice that cut through the static, Nathan commanded the airwaves, his words heavy with urgency. "Step inside." With a surge of intensity, the FBI teams burst into the warehouse from every angle. The massive doors burst apart, and the air was charged with frantic shouts. "FBI, freeze!" Chaos exploded into existence. Gunfire erupted within the building, a fierce clash as agents confronted the criminals head-on. Lisa desperately sought to distract Victor with questions about the shipment, but his instincts surged to the forefront, cutting through the tension like a knife. "What are you doing, Harper?" Victor snarled, yanking a gun from his waistband. Lisa met Victor's gaze, her voice steady. "Just doing my job." The gun rose. A heartbeat later, Nathan's team burst through the door. "Drop the gun, Victor." Nathan's voice pierced through the tension. Victor whirled, his gaze locked on Nathan, a storm brewing in his eyes. In that fleeting moment, Lisa chose her path. With a fierce determination, she surged toward Nathan, shoving him aside just in time to escape the deadly trajectory of the bullet. The gunshot pierced the air, and Lisa collapsed, crimson pooling around the gaping wound in her shoulder. As Lisa lay on the floor, crimson staining her shirt, Nathan dashed to her side, urgency gripping his heart. His worry for her was eclipsed in an instant as Victor bolted deeper into the warehouse, driven by a frantic need to break free. Nathan's voice cut through the air like a knife, commanding attention with an intensity that left no room for doubt. "Team 2, follow my lead." Nathan and his team cornered Victor in a cramped room where Richard Grayson frantically scrambled to obliterate vital documents. The room transformed into a fierce arena as Victor, trapped yet resolute, unleashed his fury with intensity. In a moment of fierce struggle, Nathan and his team surged forward, breaking through his desperate defenses. In a sudden twist, Grayson found himself captured by a different agent. Bound by handcuffs, he wore a chilling smirk. "Do you really believe that taking me into custody will alter the course of events? I have connections all around me." Nathan stood resolute, unyielding in the face of danger. He locked eyes with Grayson, his expression hardening as he declared, "We'll handle the rest. For now, be silent." With the warehouse secured, Nathan raced back to Lisa, urgency fueling his every step. She lay still on the ground, her shirt drenched in blood, yet her eyes stayed wide open, shining with an unyielding resolve. "Harper, are you all right?" Nathan's voice shattered as he knelt beside her. Lisa's smile flickered, barely a whisper of warmth in the cold air. I made a vow. Failure is a thing of the past. I accomplished it, didn't I? Nathan clutched her hand fiercely, his voice trembling with intensity. You have surpassed all expectations, Harper. You rescued me from the depths of despair. You turned the tide of the mission. An ambulance rushed in, its sirens wailing, ready to whisk Lisa away to the hospital, a moment charged with urgency and uncertainty. Nathan stood frozen, his heart pounding as she was loaded into the vehicle, a surge of gratitude and respect coursing through him. A few days later, Lisa stirred in a hospital bed, her eyes fluttering open to reveal Nathan and Emily standing vigil by her side. Emily's expression was strikingly tender, a stark contrast to the defensive facade she had previously displayed. Emily met Lisa's gaze. Thank you. You proved that people can change. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more. Comment your thoughts and turn on notifications to stay updated.